The materials artists employ are the tools, appliances, devices, and raw matter that implement their vision and make their art visible. Painters and sculptors have an intimate relationship with the materials they use, rather like the one a musician has with the instrument he plays. The chosen medium, the instruments and substances with which one works, require a mutual empathy and constitute the preferred equipment in each artist's arsenal. Paper, paint, clay, wax, bronze, stone, canvas and pencils, brushes, spatulas, and all the paraphernalia one might need have their own character and idiosyncrasies that must be respected and appreciated, given that a crucial component of making art is establishing a dialogue with the materials one uses. It is this collaboration between the artist and the medium that ultimately defines the work. When I buy new brushes and begin to use them, they are unfriendly and unwieldy. They don't behave well. Like new shoes that don't quite fit and make walking uncomfortable and slightly awkward. Brushes need breaking in, and with use, acquire a shape formed by the movement and pressure of the hand, and so do its bidding without effort. As my paintings are mostly in high relief and heavily textured, they are built up with marble dust, sand or tree bark, usually soaked in glues or resins and applied by being thrown, dripped, slopped or spread onto the surface. I often use the crudest house painter's brushes, rags, sponges, sticks or even my fingers. Whatever works, works. Drawing was and is my first love. Its simplicity allows for the rendering of spontaneous thoughts, an attribute harder to exercise in other more elaborate media. It is absurd to consider it as a minor art form, when in fact it is the very essence of being able to represent and visualize ideas and sensations. The lines one draws are determined by intuitive gestures of the hand, with utensils such as pen, pencil, charcoal, crayon, making a line and then following its trajectory on the path it chooses. When I'm drawing, the lines reveal themselves and then deliberately tracing a new path, go on their way. Color is a device used by nature to seduce, signal, or warn its creatures. Flowers, insects, and animals are conditioned to rely on the language of color and depend on the messages they carry. From the brilliant iridescence of butterfly wings to coded colors acting as texts, they affect us intuitively and in profound ways that we are mostly unaware of. The nature of color and its vital effect on us is extremely difficult to express in words. Describing the appearance or aura of a color is harder than describing the experience of it. That's why color is even more difficult to articulate than the sensation of taste or smell, all of which are usually expressed by metaphor, as when we say colors have their own voice, or colors talk to each other, or of singing the blues. The poet Wallace Stevens expressed it best when he wrote, "Color is like a thought that grows out of a mood." I myself have no idea how I work with color. It is an instinct. I don't know exactly why I put this or that color next to one another, except that it resonates or feels right, or somehow seems inevitable. Chinampas are small artificial islands, floating gardens originally created by the Aztecs for agricultural purposes. Anchored in rows and forming canals for canoe traffic, they supplied fruit, vegetables and flowers for the city of Mexico, Tenochtitlan. They are basically constructed of entwined reeds and branches and held in place by wooden poles. These floating mat-like structures are called chinamitl and are the supports on which a chinampa is built. My wall pieces are constructions that evoke an aerial view of the chinamitl, drawing attention to the raked and tilled surfaces that score these mud-covered islands as they are constantly planted, harvested and replenished. The idea of the chinampas seemed in an odd way to relate to certain premises of action painting, in which the surface of the painting is conceived as an area in which the act of painting takes place. The paint itself becomes the testimony of what has happened, a manifestation of the event. The edges of the canvas define the area of the action, circumscribed like an island. For the sculptures, I used the format of these small man-made islands. But in this case, what happens on them is a sculptured evocation of forms. The sculptures are, in a sense, landscapes, but they are enclosed landscapes. These sculpture islands are set on bases of dark mirror, floating reflections. The memory of water surrounds a sculptural event. Evidence of a poetic act. I suppose it was the admiration I felt for the Tlaquilos, the artist scribes of pre-Columbian Mexico, that got me started on making codices of my own. My interest in these works, which usually took the form of screenfold books, was not only in the great artistic quality of many of them, but also in the curious pictorial makeup of the texts, which seemed to operate in a realm moving back and forth between drawing and writing. I was intrigued by the use they made of almost every conceivable graphic convention, especially the great Mixtec codices, which contain pictograms, ideograms, signs, symbols, phonetic glyphs, rebus symbols, and a language composed of accumulated repetitions. Their visual idiom is a highly charged pictorial vocabulary of remarkable inventiveness. There are no decorative elements. Every form, line, color signifies something and is a grammar of juxtaposed parts, all coming into play with each other. The various codices I have made have become part of an ongoing project that has served me well as a source book for my work in painting and sculpture. With each codex, I try to get involved with different pictorial themes and develop a visual vocabulary particular to each one. These works make me pose a question. When does a drawing become writing, or writing become drawing? After all, we can read a painting, see a text in a tree, and ask ourselves, is music a form of speech, or is it the other way around? One day, while chatting with Octavio Paz, I mentioned my great interest in the marvelous pre-Hispanic codices, especially in the symbiotic relation between drawing and writing, and my interest in making my own versions of them. He suggested that his poem, Obsidian Butterfly, might be a perfect vehicle for one of them. This brilliant prose poem is an elegy, intoned by Itzpapalotl, the obsidian butterfly, who strangely is both the goddess of war and the goddess of childbirth. Using the screenfold format of ancient codices, I came up with a number of icons and images that I felt needed to be explored in various media. So I began to develop them, first in sculpture and then in paintings, collages and reliefs. A particular line in the poem struck me. It is one in which the butterfly goddess declares, "Images spring from my body." I thought, what better than to make these images visible? Working around the theme of the obsidian butterfly was an evocation of both past and present, and the way one filters into the other in such unexpected ways. This made me think about the correspondences and relationships between art of the past and that of the present, which is one of the great themes of contemporary art, and poses a fundamental question. What was art then? What is it now? What will it become? Art always gravitates to its own element, play. It is the key to imagination's door that leads us to where lines go between, forms deform, dots do their thing, color shapes itself, and space shuttles. Sculpting with clay is more immediate, direct, and straightforward than working with wax or carving wood or stone. It is a wonderfully playful and spontaneous medium, and working with my hands full of clay makes me feel like something between a child and a baker. Its tactile nature makes the hand, and especially the fingers, do the thinking and guide the work more than the mind. Like reading the embossed dots of Braille, my fingertips are the receptors that direct and animate the action, coaxing the clay into the forms and shapes I want. The sense of touch it provokes is intense, feeling and sensing attributes such as rough, smooth, humid, dry, slippery, hot or cold. When I first began to wander the beaches of New England, my first encounter with horseshoe crabs was in Menemsha Pond on Martha's Vineyard. I became mesmerized by these strange prehistoric creatures and was fascinated by their appearance and of their being a wonderful example of the mechanics of nature. I found a strange splendor in this animal. Its fantastic shape seemed so ancient and yet strangely modern. It looked to me like some kind of primitive tank or a Japanese warrior's helmet, something straight out of science fiction, both primeval and futuristic at the same time. Artists and poets, from the ancients to Lewis Carroll, Joan Miró, and Jorge Luis Borges, have conjured up fabulous animals and invented bestiaries. But in this case, this fabulous creature was absolutely real. Its aspect fearsome, fantastic, and formidable. Their cast-off shells soon became a permanent presence in my studio. It seemed they were always watching me, sometimes intimidating me, sometimes leading me on. I soon began to be haunted by them. What led me into the sculptures was the powerful visual presence of this animal, with its contrasting shapes, a conflation of inside and outside encompassing the same space. So for me, the challenge was to make these interconnected spaces play off each other. One of the amazing aspects of the horseshoe crab is that it comes to us intact from the depths of time. It is known as a living fossil, as it has been around for hundreds of millions of years and is the oldest living creature known that has still retained its original form. Well, I thought, hundreds of millions of years is a long time for Limulus to go without changing, and that it was about time somebody did something about it. After years of working with tools, one becomes sensitive to the feel of objects. I often make my own tools for working in wax or clay, carving or adapting instruments to shapes that sit well in the hand. Every material one uses has its own peculiarity, and adapting to their moods and constraints becomes a special challenge. When working in bronze, I usually start by making forms in wax. The whole process of casting bronze is a wonderfully appealing kind of alchemy and is the oldest of technologies surviving intact today. I enjoy working in bronze foundries and have worked with many in New York, Spain and Mexico. They are marvelous places. Walking around the foundry is always visually exciting. It is like stepping into a deconstructed world where bits and pieces of sculptures are strewn around in an incredibly chaotic congregation of dismembered parts. One sees a profusion of fragmented objects, bits and pieces waiting in anticipation of being assembled and welded together before revealing their identity, inviting speculation as to which piece fits with what. Body parts of soldiers destined for war monuments, angels' wings, busts of dignitaries, breasts of beauties, cubes, cylinders, spheres, nymphets, naval accessories and memorial statues, all juxtaposed in disorienting disarray. A few years ago, I was asked to do an exhibition in Spain in the context of the 1992 celebrations of the so-called discovery of America. This was a chance for me to develop a theme that I'd been toying with for some time, but which had not as yet taken shape, and had to do with a curious connection that exists between the Americas and Plato's Atlantis. It turns out that the second interpretation of America to reach the Spanish court came from letters claiming that their navigators had found the lost Atlantis. And so it seemed a perfect opportunity to undertake a visual exploration of aspects of this great legend as a link between the old and new continents. Atlantis is one of the most popular and durable of the great myths that have come down to us from antiquity. Like all great myths, Atlantis is a metaphor in which each of us can find a meaning that arouses and feeds our imagination. Buried somewhere in Atlantis is our own personal garden of earthly delights, our lotus land, Arcadia, Shangri-La, El Dorado, our Xanadu. It is our ongoing daydream, our siren song, a mental image that reveals the all-enveloping sense of wonder we lost when we grew up. When I first visited the Centro Magin David, a religious and community center in Mexico City, the building was nearing completion. I'd gone to see a huge wall that had been proposed as the site for a mural that was to be the centerpiece for the second lobby. I was immediately struck by the effect of the hidden skylight that ran the whole length of the wall, bathing it in light. And this was the main feature that guided my thoughts as I elaborated different ideas as to how to approach the challenge of composing a work for an area 120 feet long by 15 feet high. Having determined that the mural must basically be based on a play of shadows, and consequently to be all in white, I started making a series of working models. These began as sweeping rhythms of shapes running from left to right. As the flow of these forms developed, it dawned on me that this great surge of forms suggested the biblical description of the parting of the Red Sea. This led me to compose a rhythm of forms opening out in a huge torrent from a central U-shaped symbol representing the opening of the passage through the Red Sea. The elaboration of the finished mural presented a formidable task. Transforming the model into its final form required the fabrication of some 250 individually crafted pieces. Mounting them in place was to be like fitting together a giant jigsaw puzzle. As the work spread from the center, any misalignment of a piece would create a distortion that would have an incremental effect as the work progressed. In the end, the mural comes to life as a play of light and shadow, and for me the most gratifying surprise has been seeing how it changes its form and mood as the day progresses and the light shifts upon it, animating the shapes and transforming their flow like waves on an ocean. Artists are conjurers of images and ideas, and are bent on discovering and revealing the topography of both the imagination and the senses in the same way that cartographers chart maps or astronomers receiving signals from beyond the known universe decipher the mysteries of space. The artist's undertaking focuses on the journey itself rather than its destination, and communicating the experience and expression of it so that others, receiving and interacting with the work, bring their endeavor full circle. Some do their exploring in the stillness of their studio, while others are nomads, seeking cultural affinities that resonate with their temperament. Though born into distinct cultures, artists set out to find the universal in the particular, interpreting and articulating the world around them. Like birds, their natural destiny is to sing their song.